Welcome back, viewers, to our new and improved Across the Pond podcast, where Martin and I discuss all things tobacco harm related and tobacco harm reduction related, including things happening in London, things happening in the United States, and things happening in all the countries. As we've mentioned, we did a few weeks ago now, we were in Panama City, Panama, with Taxpayers Protection Alliance's Good Cop, Bad Cop, where we were hosting a good cop to counter the bad cops from the World Health Organization's Framework Convention on Tobacco Control, Conference of the Parties, or COP, which was the 10th conference. And I think we had an impact. But one of the things that we did set up was a global network of what we call good cop experts that featured the consumers, the science, and the policy related to tobacco and tobacco harm reduction products and innovation. And we've got a very special guest on today. She might be from those people who ran away from the States, and everything to go up north, but it's Maria P. I'm not even going to try to pronounce her last name, but one of these days I will learn it. She's with Rights for Vapers, and she's based out of Canada, and she's also was one of our good cop experts and a moderator, and you did such a great job for
Oh,
moderating. So again, thank you for doing that for us. You really saved Martin and I from having to be up there a lot more than we wanted to be.
well, thank you. That's like literally, I love it. I'm in Toastmasters. I keep telling people, join Toastmasters. It will change your life.
Yes, yes. No, you did a fantastic job, and you were really good as a panelist as well. I know we got a lot of compliments, so thank you for
Oh,
coming
really?
to
Thank
get.
you.
Yes, absolutely. And even internally, everyone was like, "Oh, she's doing really great." I mean, and especially, personally for being a woman too. I mean, I will admit we had way more guys at our conference than I would have liked, but it's really hard to get all the women together in the tobacco harm reduction space because we are very limited.
No, absolutely. And I think that's sort of like one of my long-term, long range goals is to create platforms to allow women to feel confident, because that's the big thing is that I realize, like, owning a vape shop, and I call them the secret smoking soccer moms, um, where moms would smoke in secret and people didn't know. So they wouldn't be open about vaping because then people would know they smoked. So that stigmatization, and for women especially, carries over into vaping. And I want to be able to break that down. In Canada, we have some incredible, we have Marion Burt, we have Janine Thomas, we have, oh my God, I forgot her name, but she's the vaping squirrel. We have some incredible women, Wendy Farrow, like all that have advocated. We just need more. And that's about creating safe, confident spaces for women to be able to speak up, because you're going to get shamed.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. We already know that. So I know, Martin, sorry that we went on the
Oh,
woman
sorry.
diatribe, Martin.
International Women's Day is coming up. So,
Yeah.
No, it was great. It was great because for some reason, we couldn't get too many women to our conference at Good Cop. But Maria, it was great you came along. What thoughts did you have of our meeting? I mean, it seemed to me that there was almost a community spirit that with the experts that we got down there, and I found it interesting to see that we had doctors, we had consumers, we had academics, but we also had policy guys in there, which is, I think, kind of a first, and that they integrated quite well. Do you want to give us the thoughts about Good Cop, and also what you took from Panama and COP10, and maybe just drop in your experience of going to the convention center that day?
okay. First of all, I was humbled being there. I have, like, just being around these people that have a wealth of knowledge and have chosen to use their education, their experience, and commit to um, tobacco harm reduction and access to that. One of the biggest things I learned during COP was safer nicotine. I think that was the big thing. My big takeaway is that nicotine is safe. And I hate using the word safer nicotine. Nicotine is in general safe. And learning about nicotine pouches, which has been a game changer for me. However, it's very difficult to get them in Canada right now. Anyone can mail them to me, no worries. But that was like, to me, it really shifted my perspective, because I was like vaping. And then, and I would talk about safer nicotine, but I would use that without truly understanding and respecting and valuing the options. And when you're looking at the, I guess, the continuum of harm reduction, it's always about creating a product and creating a way to satisfy the addiction in the least harmful way possible. And so it's only a natural evolution to go from, cigarettes to that crappy stuff that those pharma guys make, to the incredible product of electronic cigarettes. And these nicotine pouches now are even safer. Like, I mean, we're not inhaling. And being that involved and that committed to watching COP and listening to what's going on, I was shocked how much the narrative had changed, and they're catching up. They're quickly able to switch it from smoking kills to now we're going to talk about nicotine, and they're vilifying nicotine, and they're making the people who use nicotine as the villains. We're the bad cops, like we're the bad guys. But the truth of the matter is, if we took a pause and realized that everybody at COP and everybody at good cop, like everybody at bad cop, everybody at good cop, we all wanted the same thing. We all want the same thing. We do not want tobacco-related illness. Those illnesses last for decades, and it's painful and it's uncomfortable, and we want the same things, but well, I'm not afraid. And I will say, good cop's not afraid to come to the table, but the bad cop folks, they're so afraid. And when I saw those young kids, and that's where it kind of thing is, that we are continuing to perpetuate the stigmatization of addiction when it comes to people who smoke. And those kids are being fed that. And it's a generation, you're looking at this generation where, yes, our hopes and dreams are on the younger generation. I remember when everybody's hopes and dreams were on my generation. But the truth of the matter is that we're teaching them hate when it comes to people that smoke, and you could see it and you could feel it. Even though it was in a tweet, you could feel the hate for someone who is addicted to smoking. And they may be directing it to tobacco companies, but they're missing the mark, because who they're pointing to are the people who smoke the most marginalized, some of the most marginalized community members, and they're continuing to put that shame on them, and we've got to stop. And to me, that was the hardest part. And then not watching, I think that I use the word gut punch to not see Canada step up, is because when I look at the list of those delegates, I know their faces, I know their voices, I've been in rooms with them. And to see them not step up when you have people in your country like Marion Burton, Janine Timmons, who are stepping up, Dave Ball, who are stepping up. And they couldn't just step up for those Canadians who they meet with every 6 weeks. Like, to me, that was utter. And that's where my gut punch went. I want to swear, but I'm not going to. It's just like, this is not you. This is not Canada. We have a minister of addictions and mental health. Like, come on, we are better than this. We're okay. We can find balance. Canada has been trying to. And I think them not talking inflated and gave more power to the tobacco control in Canada and gave them a sense of confidence. But let me explain something to you. And if they're listening, which I don't know, maybe it'll be against their WHO 5.3 and they won't listen to this podcast. But just in case you're listening, that's a fake sense of confidence. And I will find the biggest needle in the world and pop that bubble. And I will make sure that science is always heard.
Wow. I mean, there's a lot to
Is anyone
unpack
scared?
there. No,
Sure.
there's a lot to unpack there, but I think you really kind of hit it on the head. They got me thinking, because this was my first COP. And since Martin's joined TPA, I've kind of gotten a crash course into the WHO and the FCTC. I mean, the United States, we're not a signatory. We don't pay them any funding, at least through their tobacco leg. But it seems that the WHO and tobacco, it seems like it's a fight between the tobacco industry and tobacco control. But tobacco control is really refusing to see that it was the people who smoke, the consumers, who created all of these products, and that the tobacco companies had to. It's not this whole, addicting the next generation. It's like, oh crap, we're going to lose all of our people because they're using these safer products, and we need to actually change our product. And this complete disdain, and it's almost like the WHO thinks we're stupid, and that, oh, big tobacco is just getting these people on something else. And it's like, no, we got big tobacco to change. Do you feel that way too, after seeing all of this interaction and seeing, like, well, I mean, what they kept talking about at COP10?
No, absolutely. Like, you know what? Give us credit. Like, give us credit. Juul did not, and this is what pisses me off. And okay, you see it. So here I go. The Maria's coming out. Give us credit. I was so, like, you have no idea. Like, the way I advocate is I pick up the phone and call them. I will pick up the phone and call. It shocks them because they're not expecting me on the other line. But I will be like, what makes you think that Juul invented vaping? Juul did not invent vaping. Juul came into Canada after small, or, I love that they call us big vape. It makes me laugh. Because I know everybody and I pretty much know where everybody lives. But that being said, Juul did not start vaping. BAT did not start vaping. People who wanted to quit smoking, who were sick and tired of being failed by pharmaceutical products, created vaping. And it's okay. Be like big tobacco, jump on our fucking bandwagon. Get over yourselves. Just because you didn't, and this is the thing where ego comes into play. And I see it. Like, I mean, why your ego is coming into play? Like, come on, give us credit. Just give us credit. Yes. And I will own this. We fucked up on our mark. Oh my God, I swear so much. Sorry, guys. But we messed up on our marketing at the beginning. But in Canada, but we pulled in the reins very quickly. We self-regulated. People do not understand this. Popcorn lung. Did you not know that there was an organization called the Electronic Cigarette Trade Association back in 2014 that fought and advocated for all flavors that could possibly have diacetyl, or whatever that flavor is. I don't even know how to say the word because it's so irrelevant. That would create popcorn lung. They fought to remove them. Why do you think there's version 2s? Ask the questions instead of making the assumptions. You're scientists. You are scientists. Why are you not asking questions? Like, I don't know. Like, I went to university, and I remember in grade 12, we learned how to write a thesis. And this is the way I think about it, right? You write your thesis, or you're doing an experiment. Even grade 9, grade 8, science fair. Here's your thesis. This is what I think is going to happen. Then you do your experiment, and you're okay if your experiment doesn't work out with your assumption. But what we're seeing, what was happening right now is, this is my thesis. Now, how do I make sure my experiment proves my thesis? And that's not the way life works. And that's not the way science works. I mean, again, I don't have a PhD in science. I'm just learning this stuff. And it just, yeah.
Yeah, it's like they've completely destroyed the scientific method. You come up with your hypothesis, then you completely test it, and then you report your findings. And then if you're trying to actually come up with the experiment to get it to be that way, then you retest it and change your variables around, but you change your hypothesis on it as well. Not the popcorn line thing. I still can't believe that we're talking about it. And then when you have to explain it, I know Skip had recently talked to that lawmaker who brought up, I don't know if you saw it on Twitter, he's got popcorn in his lungs. And it's like, oh my God, but she didn't understand that study and how it was done under intense conditions, that first of all, it's not even mimicking real life scenarios. And also that with this disease that you're assuming, they're just proving that this flavoring came out and it came out in high levels. Again, nobody's been diagnosed with popcorn lung after vaping, and it's just amazing how much the science has been completely destroyed. And all that, again, too, if you are in tobacco control, and I did still, again, you have to wonder why there's so much pushback. If here comes this consumer driven revolution and it's getting people to actually quit smoking in droves, which I think you've not seen mimicked in traditional nicotine replacement therapy. Why is there so much hesitation? Why is there overuse of the precautionary principle? Why are we looking for everything that could be bad instead of looking at all the ways that this could be good?
Because they are still living in 1985 and they are not confident. They created the monster of big tobacco, and now people like me, you, Lindsey, you, Martin, are big tobacco in their eyes, and we are that big ass villain. And the sad part of it all is that they're not confident. And when you look at the people that have switched sides, for lack of a better word, like in Canada, you have a David Sweener who advocated for decades, and he switched sides. And it's sad because I think it was a couple of years ago, they were celebrating the no smoking rules in Canada, smoke-free Ontario and all that stuff. And they didn't invite David. And my feelings were hurt. Like, David didn't care, but my feelings were hurt because he was part of tobacco control, but he saw a different kind of way of doing it. He understood harm reduction. And it's hard because when you use the term harm reduction, you're also vilified by the people who are using it for drug addiction. They're accusing us of co-opting it, and it's hard because I believe in harm reduction. So I, in my small town, advocate for access to all types of harm reduction, whether it is for safe injection sites, safe inhalation. I do believe I need to walk my talk, because if I expect Health Canada, if I expect my Ministry of Health here locally, I need to walk my talk. So when I had a vape shop, we did offer harm reduction supplies for free to community members. I'm trained in naloxone. I can never say that. Narcan. And yeah, I got to walk my talk. Again, harm reduction is harm reduction. It's all about keeping people alive.
Yeah, I agree with you on the idea of consumers driving this product. I mean, just the issue of flavors. There were flavors before any big tobacco company got involved. And the reason for that was consumers found out that, wow, if we're not smoking this stuff and we're vaping it, we can make it taste like whatever we want. And there was an array of flavors well before the first purchase of a vaping company by Lorillard in 2012. And yet that we've always been told, oh, the flavors are big tobacco trying to attract kids. No, they were people like us who found that we could switch much easier by using the flavors.
Give us credit. Give us credit. I'm so tired. Like, who do you think you are? Don't take away my credit. We created flavors. We created vaping. It is a consumer-driven thing. I am so done. And the thing is they know they can go after these tobacco companies. And first of all, I want to point out something that happened right after COP, because tobacco control lies about big tobacco. And for the first time ever, big tobacco in Canada called out tobacco control for lying. And I was just like, what? And I know that just shook them to their core. They threw a press conference. They did everything. Sadly, our Minister of Health in Canada worked with all these people in tobacco control. I like to call him Marky Mark, just because I add a Y to everybody's name in tobacco control. It just softens them so I don't hate them as much. It just makes Andrew Pipe is Andy, and Mark Holland, our Minister of Health, is Marky Mark. Cynthia Collard from Physicians of Smoke-Free Canada is Cindy. Rob from Cancer is Robbie. And it just softens them for me. And I like the fact that other people are calling them that name. It just, it's like the Three Amigos. And I just don't understand. Like, they literally, like, I mean, the other thing is they're not very creative, tobacco control in Canada. They took that whole "don't get us hooked" thing from COP and repurposed it in Canada for nicotine pouches. Nicotine pouches are no different than gum. The only difference is you don't have to chew and then park it. You just park it right off the bat. It is a legal product in Canada. You don't have to be of a certain age to buy any pharmaceutical product. And why are we starting now? Like, why are we starting now? Why do we go into these fights with creating limits? And that's the thing is, and that's one of the biggest fails I think we had in Canada. We went in thinking that if we give them limits, they won't ask for more. And they just push and push and push and push. And it's like, okay, we're going to take the tax, like Quebec. We're going to take the cat tax. They won't touch flavors. Boom, flavor ban, tax, everything. You can't give. Fight to keep. Don't fight to give. And that to me is very, and that's sort of like the different mindset when you look at industry versus consumer advocacy. Industry advocacy is, okay, what do we give up so we can keep? And we focus so much on flavors that we don't realize that giving up taxation and giving up nicotine strength really, really affects the person. And harm reduction is not about limitations. Harm reduction is about exploration. Harm reduction is about learning. Harm reduction is about, doing what it can, taking those risks to keep people alive, because at the end of the day, if you do nothing, someone's going to die.
I think the reaction to nicotine pouches in Canada and also Australia is quite revealing about how public health operates. I mean, basically they're saying, oh, we haven't got any evidence yet that youth are using these things, but they're definitely marketed at children, so therefore we need to ban them. This is before they've even had a chance to take a look at the effects of how these products can help people quit smoking. But instantly they're attacking, and instantly they're invoking the children, even though there's no evidence children are using them.
I know there's no evidence of it. Like, there is we have another province, Alberta, which has a huge vaping population and a huge vaping industry. They're now, like, there's this website, I forget what it's called, but I went on it and they were like, here's proof that they were marketing to children. No, that study's being debunked. Like, I'm literally now taking time to go through this website. Proof for what? No, you guys take pictures of kids, show them vaping, put them up in the high schools, and then tell them not to do what it's in the picture.
Yeah. And why would any business, I ran a business for a quarter of a century, why would any business target people who haven't got any money when you have a huge, much larger population with high levels of disposable income who are used to spending a lot of money on tobacco products? Why would you, what CEO in their right mind would say, you know what, we're going to go after the people who've got no money, and there's not many of them, instead of going about with this big market of adults who've got tons of money who could buy our products? It just doesn't make sense, and it's quite obviously just a political tactic from these people because they don't like the products. It's as simple as that.
No, they don't like losing. It's not about the products. It's not about the people. They, like, sorry, I don't know, you can cut this out. But when I think about when we used to talk at the beginning, industry infighting, right? People were fighting with each other, and I'm sure it happens now. I just ignore it. I've removed myself from industry, but when you think about industry infighting, and it's like, I kind of stepped back and I said, everybody's just trying to be the person that gets the title of I Save Vaping. And when I think about tobacco control coming after us, is they just want the title of we got people quitting smoking. And it's really about ego. And you're looking at people who, when they work with the government, they were given anything and everything that they wanted, no questions asked. They were funded millions and millions of dollars to be able to do tactics and not ask questions. Like, even in the late 90s, I spoke to someone who used to work for Health Canada. And when she would question tobacco control about how they're spending the money, what are you spending on? They would say, it's none of your business. We have to fight. We're fighting the devil. We got to do what we got to do. So And these are the same people today that have moved on. Like, they're not young people. Not to say I'm young. I'm in my 50s. So I'm sure someone's going to call me a dinosaur in 20 years when I'm still doing this. But, it's my turn to call them the dinosaur. Like, I mean, I'll own my dinosaur era. They're in their dinosaur era, but they're so antiquated and they're so fearful. And sadly, they have WHO 5.3 to fall behind. And to me, the biggest fight is to ensure that 5.3 does not include the vaping industry. And also, personally, I think WHO 5.3 needs to go. They need to revamp that. It is not 20 years ago when FCTC started. It's
Well,
a different.
Article 5.3, in my opinion, is only there so they don't have to debate people like us, because they know if they have the debate, they'll lose it, and they know that, so they just use it to avoid debate.
Well, in
and it's rather
Panama,
cowardly that none of them can break rank and say, you know what, I'm going to sit down and talk to these people. I mean, it's just very cowardly, isn't it, really?
no, it is. Well, I mean, let's talk about Panama. Not only did they not allow us in, but they had armed security guards with like click, click, click. As a little Canadian here, oh my goodness, I've never been that close to a rifle. We don't do guns in Canada. I've never been that close to a rifle. And here we have is like three big, burly military people with these. How do you do that? Like, how do you hold a gun? Anyways, but they look like machine guns in my, like, Rambo was gonna like training them.
It was an
And
AR. I know what guys you're talking about. An American
like
in
they
here, I can tell you about him.
but they were literally guarding the building, which had an empty parking lot, and you wouldn't think anything was going on. And all I thought when we were driving in the cab, in the Uber to get there, and I just saw ghetto after ghetto that we drove by, and I thought, these people have to see this. I wonder if any of them thought, how can we help these people? And so I came up with an idea for the next COP. I don't know where I'm going to get the money from, so I'm just going to announce it. And I'm going to expect tobacco companies to pay for it. At the next COP, we will take a day to go into some of the poorer communities of wherever COP is and make a difference. And whether it's cleaning up, whether it's finding a way to get them cleaner water, depending on where it's going to be. Maybe it's buying backpacks and buying school supplies for the kids. That's building a community garden. That's what I want to do at the next COP, because if I'm going to expect them to have empathy and caring for the country that they're literally stealing money from, I want to walk my talk and say, this is part of what you should be doing at COP. You need to be taking care of those communities that you're affecting.
Yeah.
That's
I
my
love
goal.
that. I love that. Well, we're getting around to the closing bell on this one. Spent a lot of time ranting, and I always liked it. That was a really good positive way to kind of like get going into things. What would you give some advice to, I guess, the consumers, especially the Canadians, between now and COP 11, which should be taking place next year?
Talk to your public health. Go look at the list of who was a delegate at COP. Go reach out to the Cancer Society, ask what they did, reach out to Health Canada, ask them why they didn't stand up for tobacco harm reduction when it was brought in. Ask the questions of why they were silent. Ask the questions of, does Canada still believe in tobacco harm reduction? Just ask the questions. And also, don't be afraid to speak up if you don't like the answer, if it doesn't make sense. If they don't answer on the first try, don't be upset because you got a canned response. It's the first time. You got to email them again and say, that's not what I asked you. Could we not get a canned response? Because they think you're going to give up. Don't give up. Don't give up. What's the point? If I gave up, oh, I get yelled at all the time. Oh my goodness, there's like little flow charts on me. I mean, I love the fact that they spend that much time with me. I just wish they would talk to me before they spent that much time with me. Just go out there and speak up and talk about it. And if you have questions, ask them. Ask
Yeah.
the questions. It's okay to say, I don't understand. Just get involved. This is your life.
That's a great way to end. Maria, fantastic. Yeah, and I've always said consumers get active, get involved, and just because this COP's over, there'll be another one coming on around the corner, and you start preparing for it now. So that's some good thoughts there.
Did they pick a place yet?
No, not yet. No applications. No one wants it.
No, do you have
Oh.
actually weird? We should do this as our ending question. Where do you think it's going to be at?
I wanted to be in Canada so I could host everybody.
Yeah, well, they just did the Americas, the Panama, the WHO does it by region, and so North and South America are one region. So if they were just in the Americas, so they won't be back here anytime soon.
Well, if no one steps up, they will be.
Yeah, would they do that, Martin? If the Canada did decide to step up, would they bypass, like, oh, well, we haven't been to this region ever. We're gonna come back to this region, right? The next COP, would they?
Yeah, if they haven't got any invitations from countries, I think they would take anything really. They don't want to hold it in Geneva, which would be the default if they can't find someone to host it. But the terms of the treaty say that the COP and the MOP meetings must take place in the same country. So whoever takes it on's got to take them both. So if someone were to invite from Canada, then I presume they'd accept it.
Can TPA invite the offer?
Well, we're in America, so I don't think that we could, because we're not a signatory of we're not a party of it.
Well, maybe if no one steps up in 6 months, R4V will offer.
Yeah, and I don't think I want to be a party. I looked at all the money for it and stuff, and like Germany is the one who pretty much funds the majority of the like has the largest contribution. Then it's like the UK, you're in the top. Canada's up there. Canada contributed 5% of like the contributions that came in for their last one. So
yeah, and China committed a lot of money but didn't follow through.
Yep, they didn't give him any money. Yep. Well, I guess, Martin, do you have any final thoughts?
No. Maria's covered everything really well. Yeah.
Oh, thank you guys. Sorry for talking so much.
No, that's what we wanted. That you are our guest. So thank you for coming on. Viewers, thanks for checking out another episode of our Across the Pond podcast. Make sure you check out our other episodes. And also, if you've missed our Good Cop conference, those are available on our YouTube page as well. Thanks again for joining us.